In a quiet land filled with rolling hills and winding rivers lived a humble man named Elisha, a prophet of God. He wasn't a king or a warrior, but wherever he went, people could feel the peace and presence of God around him. Elisha had many followers, young men eager to learn from him, often called the sons of the prophets. They lived together, prayed together, studied God's word, and served others. Their small community was growing fast. Day by day, new students came, young men full of hope and faith, wanting to learn how to walk with God. But soon, there was a problem. Their home, a simple building near the Jordan River, had become too small for all of them. One day, a few of the young men approached Elisha. They said, "Master, the place where we live with you is too small. Let's go to the Jordan River and build a bigger place." Elisha listened quietly, then smiled. He saw their passion, their desire to grow, and their willingness to work together. He nodded and said, "Go ahead. That's a good idea." But one of the students, with deep respect, added, "Please, Master, would you come with us?" Elisha looked at them and replied gently, "Of course. I'll go with you." And so they set out, a small group of determined young men, each carrying tools, saws, axes, and ropes. They walked side by side with Elisha, their hearts light with joy. When they reached the Jordan River, they found a perfect spot, tall trees lining the banks, the air fresh and cool. They wasted no time and began cutting down trees to build their new home. You could hear the sound of axes striking wood, thud, 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 echoing through the valley. They worked hard, laughing and talking as they went. The prophet Elisha watched, pleased by their teamwork and dedication. But then, something unexpected happened. One young man swung his axe with all his strength, and suddenly, the iron head of the axe flew off and splashed into the river. He froze. The water rippled for a moment, and then it was gone. The axe head had sunk to the bottom. The young man's face turned pale. His hands trembled as he cried out, "Oh no, my master!" It was borrowed. This wasn't just an inconvenience. In those days, iron tools were expensive, rare, and precious. To lose one, especially a borrowed one, was a serious problem. It meant debt, shame, and disappointment. He stood there helplessly, staring at the water that had swallowed his borrowed axe head. Elisha heard the cry and came closer. He asked calmly, "Where did it fall?" The young man pointed toward a spot in the river. Without hesitation, Elisha broke off a small stick from a nearby tree. He walked to the riverbank and, with quiet confidence, threw the stick into the water right where the axe had fallen. And then, something incredible happened. The water rippled again, softly at first, then slowly. The iron axe head rose to the surface. It floated, yes, floated, like a piece of wood. The young man couldn't believe his eyes. Elisha looked at him and said gently, "Pick it up." The young man reached out his trembling hand and lifted the axe head from the water, completely unharmed. His face broke into a smile of relief and gratitude. His debt was gone. His heart was light again. Everyone stood there for a moment, amazed and silent. The God of heaven had cared enough to help one man find a borrowed axe head. It might seem like a small miracle, not the parting of a sea or the calling down of fire from heaven, but that's exactly what makes this story so powerful. God cared about something as small as a lost tool. He cared about the worry of one young man who didn't want to disappoint his friend. And through this moment, God reminded them and reminds us that nothing in our lives is too small for Him to notice. The same God who moves mountains also sees the tiny troubles that weigh on our hearts. He listens when we whisper our fears. He steps in when we think all is lost, even over something as simple as a borrowed axe head. So, what can we learn from this story? We learn that God is not only the God of great miracles, He's also the God of small mercies. He cares when you lose something. He cares when you're worried about a mistake. He cares when you feel like your problem is too small to pray about, because to God, you are never too small. So the next time life feels heavy when something goes wrong, even in the smallest way, remember Elisha and the floating axe head. Remember that the same God who made iron float can lift the burdens from your heart. He cares about you. He always has, and He always will. Cast all your cares on Him, for He cares for you. 1 Peter 5:7. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring Bible stories, where faith comes alive, one story at a time.